What up, y'all? Mrs. Zoo Nation, aka Savage Armor Jones and Rafa. Welcome to another episode of Deck Building Wednesday. Well, actually, Deck Building Thursday. Yeah, there was a little couple of pit stops that I had to do, and I couldn't get the video out in time yesterday. So, yeah. Sorry that this is really late. I'm still getting used to the new schedule and whatnot, so it's a little bit understandable. But yeah. How you guys doing today? We're gonna be doing a deck profile on Neo Nectar Musketeers. So I decided I'm gonna spend the next 5 episodes of Deck Building Wednesday, or in this particular one special case Thursday. We're gonna be talking about Clan Collection Volume 1 and 2. So I decided to do a deck profile for one of each. So I decided to be like, okay, well, today we're gonna be doing Neo Nectar. Next Wednesday we're gonna be doing Great Nature. The week after that we're gonna be doing Mega Colony. All three of these decks are gonna be premium format decks. Week 4 is gonna be all three of those clans, except we're gonna be doing V Premium instead. And last but not least, on week 5, it's just basically all the other clans that I'm kind of a little bit familiar with and I kind of sort of play. So we're just going to be basically doing all that. With that being said, what we're going to be doing today is using Musketeers, seeing that I'm glad that Musketeers is getting support because I'm going to be real with you. Musketeers was the exact reason I got into Neo Nectar into the first place. Musketeers is like a deck I wanted to play for like a very long time, and even if I kind of sort of want to take a break from Neo Nectars, I still at least keep Musketeers because I like the deck that much. So, seeing that is not only getting support in Volume 2, it's also getting support in Volume 4, and it also has like a reverse unit of like one of my most favorite units in the game, which is Cecilia. Um, I'm glad that they given her like a little bit more attention, so I'm kind of glad for that. But anyway, enough with the talking. Let's get on to the deck list. Why did I was about to say ban list? Let's get on to the deck list. All right, so we're running 4 heal triggers. 2 of the heal triggers are basically the V series ones because that 20k shield is nothing to fuck with. Then the other 2 is the heal guardians because I will admit that this deck does kind of need some type of defense whatsoever. Then of course we're running 1 over trigger, the Stoachia one or Stoachia one or however the hell you say it, because I still can't pronounce that stupid nation's name, but that's besides the point. Alright, one of the things that I've noticed, speaking of the over trigger, one of the things that I noticed is that the Crate Elemental over trigger works way better in premium format than it does in its own format. Like, I like the fact that you're able to restand a lot more often in uh what is it? You're able to restand a lot more in premium format, so you have chances of hitting 1 million plus K 1 million K plus units multiple times. So you have a chance to hit those units multiple times, so that's actually a pretty interesting thing, to be honest. Not saying that the other like nation based ones aren't that good either, but I kind of feel like that because we're not really doing multi-attack in this deck. You know, I think the Stoachia trigger still like works best, but that's just me. We're running 3 draw triggers, all 3 of them being draw trigger PGs. I was thinking about running 4 though, but I don't think it's really worth it. Then the rest of it is just nothing but 8 criticals. 4 of them being the Vanguard one, and 4 of them being Elaine. I know he's a 5k trigger though, but you can't really pass up the opportunity of countercharging 2 when you call it from the deck. And seeing that you're going to be calling from the deck way often, it's definitely worth it. Alright, and then of course, like, we have the starter. No ands or buts about it. Then we go into like the grade 1s where we have 2 Daphne. Daphne is going to be like the stride fodder, and seeing that we're running basically nothing but Musketeer strides outside of the Progenitor Dragon, I'll get to in a moment as to why I chose the Progenitor Dragon over Zoa. It's going to be a little bit interesting, but I can understand if anybody gets mad at me for doing that. But anyway, we're running two because here's the thing. I feel like Vera's skill is good enough to not really stride that often, and I feel like that you don't necessarily have to depend heavily on the stride lineup in order to do so. But just in case we do, we have that fiend that acts as a stride fodder, and we get to counter blast one in order to get a musketeer out of a top four from the top of our deck, which is actually pretty good in my personal opinion. Alright. Next up we're running one of the musketeer PG. Now you're kind of wondering why we're running this one lazy ass PG. It's basically because of the drop zone effect. You're able to put a card from your drop zone back into the bottom of the deck, and you're able to bind it to get plus 2k to your Musketeer Vanguard. Now you're kind of wondering, well, not Musketeer Vanguard, Musketeer unit in general. Now you're kind of wondering, like, why would we need an effect like that? Well, it's pretty simple. You see, sometimes you just draw into your over trigger, right? And I know like Vera puts stuff into the drop zone, but why not have one more unit? I mean, not put stuff to the drop zone. Vera puts stuff from the drop zone to the bottom of the deck. Why not have another card that does like the exact same thing, except for only does one? And like I said, sometimes you run into your over trigger in hand. You use it as like a defensive thing, and then you get to actually put it to the bottom of the deck so that you have a second chance or however many chances to hit your over trigger once again. You're going to be shuffling your deck eventually by using Vera's skill anyway, or by using one of the Stride skill, the Stride Cecilia skill anyway, so it's actually pretty worth it. Then we have 3 Mickery. She used to be played at 4 though, but like you do gotta realize that she has an on-place Soul Blast 1. But one of the main reasons we're still playing this card is because she's an amplifier at the end of the day. Whatever unit goes in gets summoned in the same column as her, she gets plus 3k to the end of the turn and it stacks. So yeah, every little bit counts, man. Even though it's like small percentages, it still counts regardless. Next up we have 4 Gaston. Doing everything like Gaston. You can't do nothing like Gaston. No, but anyway, during the turn that it was placed from the deck, his unit gets plus 10k to the end of the turn. So when it's placed on the deck, it becomes an 18k beat stick or an 18k what's his face? Booster and whatnot. So honestly, this card is very good. I feel like it's like one of the best like commons that we have in general when it comes to Neo Nectar, especially when it comes to V series. I love this card. It's amazing. So yeah. I actually like this card a lot, so I'm actually pretty glad that it exists. Especially since it's just a common too. Last but not least, we're running the new card, which is Roof. Roof finally came back. She has a pretty decent ability where on place on Vanguard Circle, you get 1 token, but you get 2 tokens if your opponent is already at grade 1. So basically you get 1 token if you went first, 2 tokens if you went second. But her second ability is the thing I like the most, is whenever a card is being placed from the deck to the field when a card is being placed on the field from the deck, you get to retire her and countercharge 1. Something that Musketeers and Neo Nectar all together definitely needed. Since day 1, it's like a decent countercharger, and she works really well in Musketeers, which is one of the things I like about it. But yeah, man. Next up, we have our grade 2 lineup, which is just 3 grade 2s all playing at 4. We have the OG Sylvia being played at 4. Sylvia basically just on place on Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, just get a token. You need those tokens just for the sacrificial fodder, which is actually pretty good. Um, she's basically used in practically every single deck when you really think about it. So, um, there's not like there's hardly any Neo Nectar decks where you don't use her. I think like me personally, I didn't use her in Panoli because I used the Arbor Dragon instead. I felt like the fact that you're able to get a 10k the 10k token just by placing another token unit on the rear guard circle is actually pretty good. That's only the reason why I don't play her in Panoli, but that's just me. I don't think everybody else does that, but that's just me. Next up we have Tor. Tor has the ability of on plays, counterblast one, retire a rear guard. Mainly you want to do like your token units or your units that no longer that are just nothing but B6 now. Look at the top three, call 2 Musketeer cards from them, and put the rest on the bottom. This is definitely going to be very powerful and very useful early game. This is also going to be very powerful and useful late game as well. She's just an overall good card, and honestly, I'm glad that now she has like a lot more use in both premium format and V premium. Then last but not least, we're going to use Saul. I don't know why I like saying Saul's name like that. But basically, on place of Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, you Soul Blast one, you retire a Rearguard, you look at the top three and call a Rearguard from any of them to the field. To the Rearguard Circle, and if it was a trigger unit, you counterblast one and you activate the trigger unit. That's basically why I was asking, like, hey, if you call the over trigger, does the over trigger disappear? Which for now I'm gonna say yes though, but I will be very, very surprised if it doesn't, because like you're activating it, and one of the activating abilities is basically it binds itself and you draw a card. Like honestly, it would be completely bullshit if it didn't do that. But that's just me. Saul is going to be the major piece that makes this deck work 100%. He is going to be the number one piece of this set. Last but not least, we have the grade 3s. We're running 7 altogether. We're running 4 Vera, which is going to be the main grade 3. Counterblast 1, retire 2 rear guards. Look at the top 5. No, retire 2 rear guards. Put 2 units from the drop zone to the bottom of the deck. Look at the top 5. Call up the 2 units. If both of those units are Musketeers, she gets +1 drive. And if your opponent's Vanguard is at love grade 3 or higher, and you have Saul on the field, basically every single unit in the front row will gain whatever trigger abilities, well, not a trigger abilities, but it will gain whatever trigger power that Vera gets when she attacks. So it's like a pseudo like Asha in a way, and basically your rear guards now become the Asha tokens. The only bad thing is you don't like let's say like one of them is like a critical trigger. You don't get the critical trigger. You just get the trigger effects. So basically, it makes it even a lot more hilarious if you hit an over trigger. That makes it even more hilarious. I'm not even gonna lie on that. So yeah, there's like a lot of things to like unpack on this though, but it's actually pretty funny. But anyway, that's all for the extra. Not for the extra deck, the main deck. We're about to go into the extra deck now. It's all pretty simple. 90% of this extra deck is nothing but Musketeer units. So we're running 4 Viginal Cecilias. We're running 2 Mira. We're running 2 Captain Cecilias. Now you're kind of wondering why we're running Captain Cecilia. We're not really gonna go into her. She just flip fodder for Mira. And she's a Musketeer unit, so why not? It'll give you like a lot more power when you use Viginal Cecilia the second time. Then we have, of course, like when it comes to last unit that's not a Musketeer, we have the Progenitor Dragon. Now, here's the thing. As much as I like Zoa, I feel like that the Progenitor Dragon works a lot better, despite me not really liking the Zoo Nation Progenitor Dragon. And here's the reason why. Zoa, in order to successfully hit his skill, you need some type of guard restrict, right? Musketeers has no guard restrict. I don't even think Neo Nectar in general has a decent guard restrict. Not as good as how Great Nature in Mega Colony does. Like, Great Nature in Mega Colony has a way to guard restrict your opponent, which is the reason why Zoa works a lot better in those particular decks instead of in those particular decks instead of Neo Nectar, and which basically means that they have a higher chance of hitting compared to Neo Nectar, where you're literally doing 50-50 at the end of the day. But the Progenitor Dragon, at least you have the ability to free stride for the rest of the turn, and you have a gateway of actually surviving if you get hit to 6 damage, which is actually pretty understandable. So, with all that being said, all we have left is the G Guardians. We're running the original G Guardian that came out back in 2015, which is it was 2015, right? I think it was 2015. Which is Rain Breath Dragon. Then of course we're running 4 Antonio, because of course they have Musketeer in his name. Then we're running 1 Verna, and then we're running, last but not least, we're running 1 Costarina. So that's the deck profile altogether. What is my thoughts on this deck profile? Seeing that we're still trying to figure out how premium format is going to form, we're almost there. We're almost there. I think what everybody's waiting for is when set 3 comes out. That's basically what everybody's waiting for. However, there is a couple of issues that I definitely have with this deck. The major issue is defense. I feel like that the deck does not have any good defense and will easily get bombed out by any XL clan, in my personal opinion. But let's be real, we have the early game. So basically, most of this is just based on early game at the end of the day. Last but not least, there are 3 clans in particular that I feel like are very bad matchups for this deck. One of them, I would say take with a grain of salt. The other 2, I'm most definitely for sure that these are going to be the weaknesses. So the first one to take for a grain of salt is Grand Blue. Now, the reason why I'm saying Grand Blue is because, in my personal opinion, Grand Blue has the best defense in premium format. It has a lot of good options. It has a lot of toolbox to work with. It can basically do almost everything any other G Guardian could do. It has literally one of the best G Guardian lineups. Then you have Beatrice that you have to also think about as well. That makes the defense very good and was one of the major reasons that they became like the big 6. So honestly, I definitely feel like that Grand Blue is going to be a bad matchup for Neo Nectars, because they're just going to tank everything and just kill everybody in one swoop blow. Second thing, in my personal opinion, I feel like let's see. I feel like Link Joker and Mega Colony are 2 other clans that completely shuts this deck down, because Link Joker just locks everything you do. And Mega Colony, you just have to worry about Ghidorah. It's very hard. Even me, as a Mega Colony player, I'm all like, I know Ghidorah is coming, but how do I play against Ghidorah when basically everything that I do and the whole purpose of the deck is to call stuff from the deck, and then also call stuff against tokens. I'm actually very curious on that though. But with all that being said, my name is Zoo Nation, aka Savage Armor Jones and Rafa. Signing out. Thank you everybody for looking at the video. Everybody have a good day. Good night.